Glimpse TV. It's Kate Northrup, and I'm here with Chris Guillebeau, and I'm so excited about that because last time Chris and I talked on Glimpse TV, it was March of 2011, and we were in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest, staying in this funny little house. And Chris and I actually met right here at Longfellow Books in Portland, Maine, 4 years ago, almost to the day. Today, and for the joy of Google Calendars, I actually could look that up because I keep really good records.
That's amazing. 4 years ago.
4 years ago, September 2010,
Crazy.
We met right here in this room.
Wow.
Because you had tweeted that you were going to be in Portland, Maine that night, and my friend Bindu texted me and said, Chris Guillebeau is going to be in Portland, Maine tonight, and I was visiting, and I happened to be up the block, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I follow him on Twitter, but at the time I wasn't familiar that much with your work, and so I came. And you talked about your first book, The Art of Nonconformity, and you were on that tour, which was, can you talk about that tour? Because I think that gives a little bit of a background for who you are and the type of pursuer you are of life.
Yes, well, a lot has happened in 4 years for both of us.
That's true.
I don't think I had a lot of work 4 years ago. You said, you weren't super familiar with me.
Writing quite a bit on your blog.
I just kind of started, I mean, I'd started maybe the previous year.
Yeah.
And then I always wanted to write a book, and so I did, just like you did. And I wanted to go on a book tour because I thought that's what you do, like, and you have a book. Because I was also traveling to every country in the world, and so I had this quest that I was on. And so I thought about doing a book tour. Like at first I was like, I'll go to like a couple places, but that didn't seem super exciting. And so, and then I also talked to my publisher, and they weren't also very excited about the book tour.
At all?
Well, they didn't have any money for it, basically. And they said, like, it's not something that authors do anymore, blah, blah. But I was like, I want to do it. So I decided to go to all 50 states. That's how I came to Maine, which, by the way, Maine was my 50th state. Pretty fun at the time. That's right. Yeah. Maine represent.
Exactly.
All the Mainers out there watching.
There's probably, on average, more Mainers who watch Glimpse TV than who watch other online shows.
Oh, great.
Maybe.
That's great. Huge in Maine. So, so that was fun. I was super glad that we met then, and so much since then.
Well, so that evening, my mom and I came to talk to Chris, to meet Chris and hear him talk about his book and get our book signed. And you signed my book with a little monkey stamp. I don't know if you still use the monkey stamp, but maybe not.
I got a new stamp.
Oh,
a new book.
Okay. I'm very excited to see what it is tonight. And what was so cool is you talked about this quest that you were on to visit all 193 countries in the world by the age of 35. And you succeeded on that quest, yes?
I did. I succeeded last year on my 35th birthday.
You actually finished on that day?
Exactly.
And you had a big party in Norway?
We did.
In Oslo?
We brought like 200 people there, and it was fun and crazy.
So one of the things that I remember when I first met you is I was like, this guy's kind of nuts. Why would you, because we were just discussing before the episode how different Chris and I are. I was like, why would you leave home so much? Why would you be on an airplane so much? Like, why would you do this? So I would imagine you met a lot of people during that quest that thought you were nuts and didn't understand.
Sure.
Is that true?
Sure, that's fair. But I also met a lot of other people who were like, that's awesome. That's cool, right? And here's what I'm doing. And like, I've always had this idea of doing something fun, or maybe I'm doing this thing that nobody else relates to, but it's great to see like that somebody else has something. But continue. And
so from those conversations came this brand new book, which is called The Happiness of Pursuit. I love the title, Finding the Quest That Will Bring Purpose to Your Life. And last week, Mike and I got to see Tony Robbins live, and he said something that really struck me, which is totally on par with this, which is that happiness comes from growth and progress.
That's awesome. I should put that on the back of the book, but we've already printed the blurb, so.
Too bad. Tony, as you're watching this, we'd like you to get this copy and tweet about it.
For just $25, you can get it at any bookstore.
Because it's right in line with your philosophy. But what's so amazing about that is when you were younger and you were doing some of your service work and writing and being you've done a lot of really interesting things, actually. But what did you think happiness was about as you were maybe in your 20s or early 30s?
I don't know if I thought a lot about what happiness is, in my 20s. I think I was just identifying things that I was excited about and pursuing them. I think maybe the deeper thinking about happiness came along the way. It was kind of like entrepreneurship. When I became an entrepreneur, You know, it wasn't motivated by service. It wasn't motivated by this higher calling. It was just, I don't want to work for someone else.
Yeah.
You know, but then I think as you kind of pursue something, you know, maybe you come to that deeper connection with it. And then I think I found a lot of happiness, or as I describe it, their purpose and meaning as I was striving towards something. And that's why I really loved the project, because it was this quest, it had this missional element, it had this element of checking things off. I was always a big list maker. I was always like making my to-do list or my ideas and like writing them. And so I liked, even though it was this huge thing, when you really broke it down, it was kind of simple. It was like, all I got to do is, you know, get to all these countries. Right. And once I get to 50, then I'm a little bit there. Once I get to 100, halfway, you know, and then there's like this category of difficult countries, but I'm going to tackle them one by one, you know. So I was really attracted to the simplicity of it, I guess.
It's amazing that you call going to all 193 countries simple, but when you describe it that way, and in the early stages of the book, you describe that when you have a big quest, one of the best things to do is to actually write out how you're going to do it, because then you can break it down.
Right.
So can you talk about one of the wackier quests of the people that you talked to in the writing of this book?
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of wacky ones, but I like the wackiest.
You really like the wacky ones.
I really like a screwball.
That's really funny. Okay. You know, it's interesting in looking at all these different people. I didn't want to find only wacky quests. You know, I wanted to find like relatable ones and also super incredible ones. You know, there was a man who ran 250 marathons in a single year.
Yeah, I read about that.
You know, there's someone that you and I both met actually 4 years ago when we met that same night. Another Mainer, Nate Dam. He had what he described as this crazy idea in my head about walking across America. Yeah. And he ended up pursuing that. He did that over about 7.5 months. I really liked something that he said when I talked to him. You know, speaking of challenge, he said something very similar to the simplicity aspect. He said, you know, it got tough lots of different times, but I just had to remember all I had to do was put one foot in front of the other. That's the goal that's how it works about walking across America. Anything else can go wrong, but as long as I am making progress, literally, I am making progress.
Such a great metaphor for everything.
I don't know if that's a super wacky quest, though, but I mean, like one of the lessons of quests is that you have to believe in your dream, even if no one else does.
Well, exactly, and that's when I remember when I was talking to you the first time about your quest to visit all 193 countries, I was very clear, like, I have no interest in doing that, but I was still nonetheless very impressed and inspired by your quest, and actually hearing about your quest is what inspired my Freedom Tour. It was that night, September 14th, 2010, and then subsequently reading your book on the flight home, when I thought to myself, I was like, I'm gonna get rid of all my stuff, I'm gonna sell my apartment in New York, I'm buying a Prius, and I'm going on a road trip of indefinite length. And Mike and I ended up doing 41 countries and 34,000 miles, and 41 countries. We didn't go into any other countries.
That's right. One big country. One big country.
Just the United States.
Lots of states.
And now we only have Alaska left. So Alaska, we're coming for you.
That's really great. I remember seeing you in Portland, actually. The other Portland at the end of that.
Yeah, we came around. We came around to WDS, to the first one. No, the first one.
That was there.
Yeah, that was amazing. If you do not know what WDS is about, it's called World Domination Summit, and it's this incredible event.
A brief promotional segment
every summer. Well, it's just worth checking out.
Commercial break.
Commercial break promotion. Okay, so.
May I say something?
Yes. This is your interview.
No, that's all right. It's your interview.
Okay, but you're the guest.
You know, so what I hope to do, you know, like we're telling all these stories, right? Every country in the world, dude who walks across America, etc. What I hope to do with the book is to not only share a bunch of stories, or I didn't want to write my own memoir. That's not what it's about.
But I would like to read that someday.
One day. You can help me with that. Maybe.
Okay, great.
I'm not good at that. I want people to embrace the value of adventure. I want them to find a way to cultivate that value in their lives, however that looks for them, right? And so the Freedom Tour is a wonderful example of that. There's a woman, Robin Devine, in Omaha, who is knitting 10,000 hats. You know, I'm not a knitter. I don't believe in that dream, but it's not my dream, right? It's her dream, and she made 100 hats, and then she was like, maybe I'll make 1,000, but then she's like, that's not big enough.
What's she doing with them?
She has some whole charity component with it. You can go on her website, and she's like, everyone is going out to someone like around the world. So it's more than just the making. There's a sharing to it. So that's what I hope people will do. I hope they will you know, not just read a book or watch this interview and be inspired, but they'll actually go and do something with it.
Create their own quest. Absolutely. And actually, the next book that I am working on inside my head there's a quest element, because it's more of a project, so that's also really fun to make something a project, because if we're not working on something, we're not really happy, it turns out.
I agree.
I mean, it's really amazing the number of people who retire and then they get depressed, or retire and then get sick and then expire. I mean, it really happens all the time. So without a purpose to live for, we do kind of like atrophy. So speaking of purpose, what's your next quest? What's up? What are you doing?
My next quest, I don't think it's going to be the same kind of travel quest. You know, like a lot of people are like, oh, you should go to every country again, like in reverse order. And I'm like, no, you should do that. Yeah. Feel free, right? That's cool. You want to do that?
I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, sure. You know, you know, for me, the greatest thing about the whole project is like all the people who came along to engage or participate in some fashion, and I want to focus much more on them. I think then the next quest, the next project, the next focus is essentially about community. It is about community. It's about encouraging people to cultivate that value of adventure in different ways. So I'm still figuring out, you know, exactly how that will look. But I think, like, you know, I guess what I would hope is like long term, visiting every country in the world is like cool little thing, nice accomplishment. But here's what I really did with my life, you know. And hopefully, what I really did is like actually helped people to do something with theirs.
Well, you already have.
We'll see.
Yeah, me especially, or in part of that. I can't really say especially. I think you've inspired a lot of quests. So two last quick things. What are you doing in your life right now that you're scared of, but that you're doing anyway?
I'm trying to go to a deeper level in a lot of different aspects. I feel like there's a lot of things, like you've said really nice things about me. You're like, oh, you've done all this great stuff. There's a lot of things that I don't do super great. And I've always kind of worked on my own, and so like prided myself that I do a lot of stuff by myself, but I don't necessarily think that's the best, you know, way forward, or the healthiest or the most strategic. So I'm trying to, like, it's uncomfortable for me to rely on others, actually, because self-confidence and independence, those are like values that I embrace very much. It's uncomfortable for me to rely upon others, but I think I have to, maybe, to do what I need to do next.
To go to the next.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you.
Well, thank you for answering it so honestly. And then when do you feel the most free?
I feel the most free when I am traveling, when I am like in the process of something, in the motion of something, and when I'm working towards something. You know, I really like this building blocks kind of thing. Like, I'm really attracted to deliverables and outcomes. You know, if I get something done, it's like, I feel good at that.
Yeah, it's great. There's really, I mean, it turns out there's nothing else. I mean, there's a lot of other things, but there is something great about saying you're going to do something and then doing it. Yeah. So thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
fun.
Chris. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So this part, Mike forgot to keep the audio on. So I'm going to do a voiceover instead. So what you want to do now is go to findthequest.com and buy yourself a copy of The Happiness of Pursuit. This is an amazing book, and it's going to help you find happiness, because it's all about all these people around the world doing their amazing quests, and how the pursuit of that really brings joy to your life. So go to findthequest.com and pursue your quest, and you can use #FindTheQuest so you can find all the other people who are on their quests around the world, because it's a phenomenal community. Thank you, Chris. Oh, are we already, you just recorded that whole thing?
I think we just did the episode, actually.
Cut. Go.
Wow, thank you so much, Kate. Oh my God.
How about you come on Glimpse TV and we'll talk about me?
Okay, why not? So okay, let's talk about your next book. You know, how many copies of the book, you know, viewers have you purchased, right? Have you really supported Kate? I want you to think about this. You may think because you bought that Kindle copy, you know, you may think she's getting rich off that, but she's not.
She's not.
I want you to go buy 100 print books, right? Like right now. Like,
it's not that. It's true. Okay. There's no swearing at Longfellow Books.